Welcome to the Seven Figure Leaders podcast. This podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. And there you'll find the link to apply. Welcome, and today we've got Ross Tomkins. Welcome, Ross.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Really looking forward to it.
So didn't really know how to introduce you because there's quite a lot of paths we can go down here. So I'm just going to let you give us a bit of an intro as to who you are, what your background is and what you're up to.
Brilliant. Yeah. I've got my fingers in a few pies. I hear quite often that I'm fairly diverse in my interests, but for me, they all align under a really, bracket of health. But to go back to the beginning, I'm a physiotherapist by background. Started in the NHS back in the 90s. Very quickly realised I didn't want to work in the NHS, partly because I didn't want a boss, I think, looking back, and partly because I wanted to treat people differently. I wanted to give them more time than I was allowed to give under the NHS rules and guidance. So I started my first business, which was in the world of occupational health and ergonomics back in 2006, after a short stint of living a carefree life, just traveling. I'd work for 3 months, travel for a month, work for another 3 or 4 months, travel for a month. And then eventually thought that's probably not a sensible lifestyle choice. Started my first business, which we grew organically, predominantly using joint venture partnerships, and we grew that up to 35 members of staff. We then lost our biggest client because we were largely a B2B company. And as people often say, it's a period of stress or pressure that really creates growth. And in that difficult time where we'd lost a lot of revenue and profit, I was forced to think outside the box, which was when I stumbled across the world of small business acquisition. Because we'd done quite well, we did have, money in the bank, which helped. And we quickly went out and we acquired 2 other physio practices. And so we looked at horizontal acquisitions. We then looked up and down our supply chain. So we went down to medical supplies and we bought a medical supplies and pharmaceuticals business. That got us thinking about that sector. We bought a medical device company. After that, we went up our supply chain and we actually dealt with a lot of health and safety people. So we ended up taking a stake in a health and safety business. We then went along the timeline and we were working with working age adults. So we went up and thought, well, let's buy a domiciliary care company so we can look after the experienced end of our population as well. And we did 4 bolt-on acquisitions in that sector. And we were going to go down to pediatrics and buy children's healthcare businesses as well, which we never got around to. So that sort of led us into this world. And we've done over 20 acquisitions over the last 5-6 years. And of late, we've just started our new venture, which is a healthcare holding company based out in the UAE, where I'll be moving in about a week and a half.
Wow. Very, very exciting that you're about to move, and sounds like you've been up to a lot. So you started a business 2007, you then grew that organically for a while, and then you did a load of acquisitions, 20 acquisitions, and you still own that group?
Still own those businesses. Yeah, it wasn't we didn't, I kind of was making this up as I went along, really, kind of learning about business. Physiotherapists aren't taught business at university, so I was really good at mending people, but business was a new thing. So I started learning about sales and marketing because obviously I needed to grow. Then I started learning about small business acquisition. That led on to an understanding of finance. That led on to then about leverage. So how, could we borrow money to buy a business? Could we look at alternative avenues such as going out to private individuals, angel syndicates, things like that. But yeah, nobody taught us all that. So we made it up along the way. So the reason I tell you that is because all of our businesses weren't consolidated under a single brand, which is why we've eventually started Balmoral Partners, which is now our intention. So every business that we acquire in the future will sit under Balmoral Partners. And we've done 4 already in the last 2 months.
So when you say they weren't structured under one holding company, you mean that they functioned individually as their own standalone businesses? So they weren't, did you kind of take advantage of the synergies between them, cross-sell across them, or not really?
So the common denominator was me. And there was different shareholding in each business. I was sort of the glue that held it all together, if you like. Some of them were acquisitive in their own right. So, we bought Beacon Domiciliary Care. It then did 3 other acquisitions underneath it. So that subsidiary grew through acquisition. There was some opportunity for synergies and cross savings. So we did have a group MD, although she retired last year. We didn't actually replace that role yet. She had her 3rd grandchild, so she went off to be a grandmother. Finance, again, we had someone that looked over the whole group. Marketing and sales, we have someone that looks after the whole process. So what that allows us to do is it allows us to hire someone at a much higher level, and then they share the cost.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And this new group that you're setting up in UAE, what's that group going to do?
So it's got a strong healthcare leaning because of my background and because of our CFO and partner, James Oates, that's joined. He was 10 years at PwC as chartered accountant, and then he went on to HC1, which are the largest privately owned healthcare company in the UK, 20,000 employees. And he was their head of M&A. So he completed over 500 million in transactions over the last couple of years. And he left there to join us. So he's now a partner and CFO in Balmoral Holdings, Balmoral Partners, sorry. And we're looking to continue growing. And our goal is to do 20 to 30 acquisitions over the next 5 years.
Okay. All in the health space and UK based, or are you going international?
International. So 3 of the 4 businesses we've acquired so far are in England, one's in Australia, and the next one will be in Scotland, so a little bit further. And after that, we've got a couple of negotiations ongoing in the US. I'll be in the UAE myself, so it could be that there's something in the Middle East that comes into Balmoral as well.
Okay, so there's a health focus, but not a specific sector within
Correct.
health.
Yeah. So we call it healthcare leaning. So we're also opportunistic. So there may be sectors that open up, and it's just too much of a good deal, if you like, to turn down. And also, whilst we're healthcare leaning, there are other sectors which just fit in there really nicely. So, for instance, we've taken an interest in a PPC agency. So now that PPC agency, we can plug into any other business that comes into Balmoral, and we can help them to grow through marketing. We're in talks with an AI company at the moment of taking a minority stake in there. So then every business that joins Balmoral, we can plug in Google PPC plus an AI company, and we can help to grow them, which is ultimately why people are joining Balmoral, because they want either to exit or
Yeah.
they want help to grow.
Yeah. And so, okay, so that was my next question, actually. So you're either looking at acquiring the whole thing where the owner's not going to stay part of it, or you're looking to do a partial where the owner wants to stay part of it, but perhaps sell some of their equity.
Yeah, so our next business you should go through, the one in Scotland, and we're acquiring 100% of that business. The AI company, that would be a minority stake. So either or, in any situation, the important part is we have someone who is an industry expert.
Yeah.
So with where the founder is staying, and we're really giving them growth capital with our networks, with our relationships, with our access to capital, and also financial capital as well. And that's easy. Where we're buying the whole business, we'll usually bring in a partner. So in Scotland, we've partnered with another entrepreneur who has previously built and had an 8-figure exit in this exact industry. He had a 3-year restrictive covenant, which finished last year. So now he wants to go back into the industry and do it again, and do it bigger and do it faster. So we partnered with him. So we're buying 100% of the company. Balmoral will own a third. This other gentleman will own a third. and we've got 4 angel investors who've put the money in to buy the business, who own the remaining third.
I see. So every deal is going to be structured slightly differently depending on who's involved and what everyone wants.
Yeah, correct. So Balmoral is the top co,
Right.
and underneath that there'll be 20 to 30 acquisitions that all have their own needs. They'll all have their own structure. They'll all operate independently, but Balmoral will have board level oversight. So when a company joins, we'll descend on it, kind of pull it apart, if you like, put in the right policies, procedures, sales processes. We might plug in AI or plug in our marketing teams, help it to scale, and then we'll zoom back out and allow it to function by itself and just have that management oversight.
Yeah. And so the actual going out finding all the deals, is that James doing that from UAE, or is there someone else kind of involved in that?
Um, so I would say a third of our deals currently come from our network. So people like yourself, and people that I've met over the last 8 years, and James has met over the last 20 years, um, that just say, "Hey, are you interested in this?" One of my clients or one of my friends is selling a company. Another third of our deals come from brokers. So as you know, there are thousands of brokers out there. It's a largely unregulated industry, so we do often find they come with a higher expectation of what their business is worth. But a third of our businesses still come from brokers. And then a third actually come from our own social media and our own outreach. So we have campaigns going out on LinkedIn, we have campaigns going out via email. So we get constant deals coming from that as well.
Understood. And then so James will help kind of structure the deal. You'll be involved presumably in the conversations and getting the deals over the line.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm sort of like the face of it, if you like. So I'll often have the first conversation, then hand it over to James. If James is on board and still thinks it's a good idea, then he'll be looking at the finances and structuring things. I'm a really big fan of surrounding myself with people better than me, and also surrounding myself with people that look at the world slightly differently. I like everybody. I'm super trusting, and I see the positive in everything. That has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages. So having James there, who's an accountant and therefore rather cynical, is perfect because I go, "Wow, this is amazing! Check out this thing," and he goes, "Oh, what about X, Y, Z?" So we balance each other really well. And that's one piece of advice I would give for anyone listening is that never surround yourself with yes men. Always surround yourself with people who are capable of saying no and giving you their reasons why, and you'll build a much stronger business.
Absolutely. And then once the acquisition goes through and you own it essentially, is does each group have their own, or each business have their own management team involved, or is there kind of an overarching management team that you can that helps each business out?
Depends on the business, I guess. So some of the smaller ones will be more reliant on us while they're going through the growth stage. Some of the larger ones will have more board level oversight, so we'll just be speaking to them on a less regular basis. Ultimately, as all of them grow, we will be zooming back out and have that more top down oversight where we're able to see the bigger picture, pull some levers from a little bit further away. But ultimately, we want each business to be self sustaining, self managed, because at some point in the future, they'll likely be sold. And one of the things, of course, that will devalue that business is if it's still being operated by us. So they should stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah. Is there any particular part about the process which you find particularly challenging?
In an acquisition process,
In the acquisition process or post acquisition, when you do all the hard work to get the deal over the line, and then you inherit this business, or you take over this business and you realize that perhaps things weren't as you thought they were going to be pre-acquisition,
yeah,
or you have people problems, whatever it may be.
yeah. There's a lot of talk of acquisition at the moment. It seems to be quite popular. It's almost like the next property investing thing. Everyone's off looking to buy a business. And buying the business is the easy part. It might not feel like it at the time, and you might have to talk to a lot of people, but buying the businesses is easy. It's integrating it and running it afterwards, which is most definitely the most challenging part. So I liken this to the people who win the lottery, and then 2 years later they're broke. And it's because they don't have the money mindset that's required to manage that amount of money. And it's the same with a business. If you acquire a business and all of a sudden you've got 500,000 of profit dropping into your bank, and you don't know what to do with it and how to manage it and how to manage the people, quite easily that can all go wrong. And unfortunately, small business acquisition does have a really high failure rate. And I think that's because people with no business acumen end up owning a business. So I think there should be a lot more emphasis on actually upskilling yourself in business. So sales, marketing, HR, finance, or bringing in people like yourself and bringing in people better than you to manage those tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, something you mentioned there was people with little business acumen acquiring businesses. And there's also quite a rep at the moment for these sort of no money down deals, and it makes it look like it's easy and that anyone can do it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic marketing tool. It gets people interested. I can buy a business for no money. And most of the people that I know who've been successful in small business acquisition um, require capital. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be your own. So I think perhaps another way of framing it could be no money, none of your own money down to
Yeah.
buy the business, because you can use leverage. A leverage buyout is used commonly in large organizations all of the time, where you leverage the assets of the business. You could use an angel investor. You might use a family office. So there are lots of ways that you can buy a business not using your own money. Um, but most of the businesses that we've seen, which have been bought for £1, were worth £1. So
Yeah.
there was something wrong with them. We've done one deal, which was £1 deal, and it was a turnaround. And it's the only acquisition that hasn't worked out of all of the ones that we've acquired. We almost turned it around, and then one of our largest clients went into administration, and that unfortunately took us with them. So yeah, that's our only experience of a £1 deal that didn't work.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because I've been through the acquisition process quite a few times myself, and even for someone with my background, going through it, going through financial due diligence, working out whether the deal makes sense, you do really have to understand what you're looking at and what the numbers mean. And if you don't, it's ultimately you that pays for it. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
you need to make sure you're doing it right. And if you are using lending, so it's possible to leverage a business, and you might leverage the assets, or even the cash flow. If you have a strong enough business, there are facilities out there to do that. And the good thing about that is they have really strict rules. So they won't let you do it unless you've got incredible modeling from a financial perspective. So it does make it a little easier when you have to provide that level of information.
yeah, and it's a vote of confidence if someone will lend you the money. If they won't,
Absolutely.
if they won't lend you the money as a person, then it's probably an indicator that you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
And just one other thing. So I know that you've got this group that we haven't talked about. So perhaps you could share a little bit about your community, and what you're doing there, and who you're looking for within that community.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So yeah, I also mentor business owners who are looking to scale. And so in the group, we've got about 35, uh, largely gentlemen now. We do have two ladies in there. And most people are joining because they're looking to grow their business. They perhaps want to explore mergers and acquisitions. But we also discuss growth via organic marketing strategies. We discuss AI, and we have a really strong focus on health, because I believe you can't build a skyscraper on the foundations of a bungalow. So, you as the owner needs to be strong and capable of leading the business. And ordinarily that starts with your health. So, if you can focus on one thing, start there. As your health gets better, your energy gets better. As your energy gets better, you can motivate and inspire more easily. You can put more hours in to get the deal done. You'll largely be a better leader. So generally speaking, people join the group who want to learn a little bit more about health, wellness, but then also how to grow their wealth as well.
Okay. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll make it very easy for anyone to contact you if they think that that's, up their street. But is it, who are you looking for in that group? Is it business owners, people that want to become business owners?
A little bit of both. So the common on denominator between everyone that is in the group is they have a growth mindset, and a real desire to grow. So it's someone perhaps who's in the corporate world but doesn't want to be. They want to break out on their own. They want to buy a business or start a business, and they don't know where to start. So they're looking for that support and accountability. Or it could be someone who's already doing 500,000, 1 million, but they want to get to 2 or 5. The last gentleman that joined that we just spoke about off air, is already doing 15, but he wants to double that and move to the US. Our biggest company are doing about 60 at the moment. So we have a wide range of businesses, but the common denominator is a desire to learn, a desire to help one another, and a desire to grow.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Well, Ross, it's been a pleasure having you on as a guest on the podcast, and we'll make it, like I said, very easy for anyone to contact you. We'll put your website, put your LinkedIn there. Anything else you want to share?
Um, I don't think so. I think we covered one of the things which is a big passion of mine, which is health. So
Yeah.
if there was one gift that you could give to the world and your family, it's a healthier version of you. So don't underestimate that run or that walk or that swim or getting on that bike. It'll help you in every area of your life.
Brilliant, Ross. Thanks for sharing and wishing you all the best in your move to UAE and with the new holding company.
Thanks, Tom. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. On that page, you'll find the link to apply.